Hello, welcome to Papa Nick's Music. I am, as always, your host, Papa Nick Lewis, and I know I promised last week that I have my Paul McCartney ranking this week, but I need a little bit more time to finish the work. This time, I'm wrestling with something new. Usually, when I'm making a video about an artist, it's either because I know the artist really well and have listened to most, if not all, of their work, or it's because I'm listening to the full catalog of an artist to see if I like them beyond their greatest hits. In other words, I either know the catalog or I'm learning the catalog. But with Sir Paul, I'm doing both. Paul's recording output falls into three general phases for me. His singles are part of the fabric of my youth, but I didn't start listening to his albums until I was in college. I had heard most of the earlier albums, Band on the Run, McCartney, this kind of stuff, but I didn't own them. And so I knew them, I was aware of them, but I didn't listen to them on a regular basis. When I was in college, though, I started building my music library, and I started backfilling by going back and getting some of those albums. So that's my second phase, when I was in college and when I was actively building my library. This is also when I started listening to, acquiring the albums as they came out. McCartney 2. I bought when it was first released. I think that might have been the first one that I got when it was a fresh release. And as I was backfilling, I was adding the new stuff up until Press to Play. Press to Play was the last album that I bought when it was a new release. Somehow I skipped over Pipes of Peace. I never got a copy of Pipes of Peace, but everything else up to that point I was pretty much getting. And it's not that Press to Play was such a disappointing album that I stopped by. No, that's not it. Actually, I like Press to Play. You're going to be surprised, I think, at how high it ranks when I finally do release the ranking. Spoiler alert. It's just that by this time in my life, I was just about ready to graduate from college, which meant I was just about ready to go out into the adult world. Had graduated with my master's degree, had gotten married, and was scrambling, trying to find a job and trying to pay down debt that I had incurred as a student. And so, money was scarce, and I couldn't justify spending it on records. And I had stopped listening to Top 40 radio at this point, so I lost touch with music that was being released popularly unless it was so overwhelmingly popular that you couldn't get away from it. So I lost track of Paul. And so everything that was recorded afterwards, Flowers in the Dirt on, is stuff that I'm listening to for the first time as I'm doing this experiment, with a couple of exceptions. Which means some of this is work that I'm deeply familiar with, and some of it is stuff that I've never heard before. And this leads me to my problem. How do you fairly compare an album that you've been familiar with for 45 years to one that you heard for the first time 2 weeks ago? More specifically, how much of the affection for that 45-year-old album is based on the album, and how much of it is based on your affection for your life as it was 45 years ago? This is something that I'm not wrestling with the other rankings that I've done, with the other overviews I've done of artists' careers, because they're either in one camp or the other. Sir Paul is straddling both, and that's throwing some monkey wrenches into my process. I think I have finally come up with something that's going to help me parse all of this out, but it's taken me a while to do it, so the release has been delayed. We will see if I get this thing done for next week. I might, who knows. The latest odds in Vegas do not look favorable, but I don't gamble, so that's okay. So this, more than anything else, is just a placeholder saying, okay, yeah, I promise next week I'll have something for you. This week was a challenge for a variety of reasons, several of which are personal and frankly have no bearing on this channel, but such is life. Regardless, I did want to touch base with you, let you know that the thing is in the works. The Paul McCartney thing is in the works. And if I don't have that next week, I will at least have something a little bit more meaty than, bitching about how how hard it is to do the McCartney ranking. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click that like button. I'd appreciate that. While you're down there clicking, if you have not already done so, click the subscribe button. It costs you nothing, but it means the world to me, so I very much appreciate it. If you do subscribe, click the bell for notifications. The YouTube folks appreciate that, so on their behalf, I thank you. Thanks again for hanging around with me, and I hope the rest of your day is delightful. See you soon.